The office work party was in full swing, the kind of event that made me inwardly groan every year. Fairy lights strung across the ceiling, trays of hors d'oeuvres stacked neatly on the buffet table, laughter ricocheting off the walls. It was the perfect stage for small talk, subtle power plays, and awkward encounters with people who were otherwise faceless on weekdays. I don't usually attend these things, but Emily insisted. "Come on," she had said, tugging me along. "It's polite, and besides, you'll get to meet my boss properly. It's intimidating, but you'll see he's not scary." Intimidating didn't begin to cover it. Mr. Caldwell, Emily's boss, was exactly the kind of man who walked into a room and immediately made everyone shift in their seats. Sharp suit, sharp eyes, sharper smile, and a reputation for cutting people down with a single sentence. He had charisma, yes, but it was the kind that came with an edge. We mingled for a while, exchanging brief hellos and polite smiles. Emily was radiant in a sleek navy dress, chatting easily with her colleagues, laughing at jokes that I barely understood. I hovered on the sidelines, nursing a glass of champagne, quietly observing. That's when he appeared, Caldwell, moving with the smooth confidence of a man who always controlled the room. He stopped directly in front of me, tilted his head slightly, and fixed me with that calculating gaze. "You must be Emily's husband," he said. Casual, polite. But there was a weight behind it, an unspoken test. "Yes," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Caldwell." He smiled, thin, deliberate. "I've heard about you. Emily speaks highly of her husband. I imagine it must be interesting, navigating a career-driven woman at home and at work." I felt a flicker of irritation. Interesting? Was he implying that Emily's ambition was a problem for me? I straightened my posture. "It's not difficult," I replied evenly. "We support each other's goals." Caldwell's smile sharpened. "Ah, support," he said, emphasizing the word. "But you must admit, some men struggle with strong women. Especially when they're, particularly, ambitious." He leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice, the kind of tone that felt like a challenge. I could see the crowd nearby, half paying attention, half oblivious. He was subtly testing me, trying to assert dominance, perhaps even subtly belittling me in front of Emily and their colleagues. I didn't flinch. Instead, I let a calm, measured smile spread across my face. "You know," I said, lowering my glass slightly, "I've found that the men who worry the most about ambitious women are usually the ones who can't keep up. But Emily doesn't need anyone to keep up with her, she leads, and those around her either follow or watch. I'm fortunate to be part of the team that supports her, at home and elsewhere." There was a brief pause. Caldwell's smile faltered just slightly. "I see," he said, his voice carrying the faintest trace of surprise. He was used to being the one who set the tone, who commanded attention, who subtly reminded people of their place. But tonight, his usual tactic wasn't landing the way he expected. "I've found," I continued, keeping my tone calm and confident, "that respect and partnership go both ways. And anyone who doubts that, will quickly learn their lesson." Caldwell's eyes narrowed slightly, but now there was a different emotion behind them, a grudging recognition, a flash of respect buried beneath his usual arrogance. "Impressive," he said finally, straightening his posture. "Not many spouses would have the nerve to speak so candidly." I simply nodded, giving a small, polite smile before turning to Emily. She had been watching from across the room, her eyebrows raised, a mix of surprise and admiration on her face. "You handled him," she whispered when I returned to her side. "I didn't even think anyone could. I just made sure he knew," I replied quietly, "that some lines aren't for crossing." The remainder of the evening went smoothly. Caldwell kept his distance after that, and Emily's colleagues seemed to glance at me with newfound respect, subtle nods, half smiles, quiet acknowledgement that the usually untouchable boss had met someone who could match him in composure and presence. As we walked home that night, Emily slipped her hand into mine. "You really shocked him," she said softly. "I've never seen him lose his cool like that." I chuckled. It wasn't about shocking him. It was about making sure he understood Emily deserves respect, at work and at home. And no one should underestimate the people who support her. She leaned her head against my shoulder. Well, you definitely made a statement. I like that. Good, I said, feeling a quiet satisfaction. Because some people need to learn that respect isn't optional. The night had taught me something important. In a world where ambition, hierarchy, and ego collide, it's easy for one person's influence to overshadow another. But partnership, trust, and confidence, these are the things that balance the scales. And sometimes, it takes a quiet confrontation, a well-chosen response, to remind everyone exactly where the lines lie, and who isn't to be underestimated. By the time we reached our front door, Emily laughed softly. You really should come to more parties, she teased. Only if you promise I never have to talk to him again, I replied, smiling. But inside, I knew that night had been about more than a party. It had been about setting boundaries, asserting respect, and showing that support and love can be a quiet yet formidable force. And as Emily kissed me goodnight, I realized that when her boss tried to cross me, he truly never saw it coming.